All right, this video is for Pythagorean's theorem, and so I'm giving a worksheet out, and so you can see this. We did the proof in on class, and I just know some of you have not finished this yet, and so we're going to finish that when I get back. So if we look at this, I want to go over the Pythagorean theorem. We're going to talk about the actual how to solve it and how to tell if it's a right triangle or not. So if the two legs squared equals the third side, which is the hypotenuse, like we were doing in the proof, if that equals, then we have a right triangle. All right, so how do we do this? All right, so the first thing, and I'm going to have paper here as well, is that we're going to take the Pythagorean's theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And I'm just going to draw a right triangle so we can kind of talk about this real quick like we did. All right, so I'm going to just draw here. This is a right triangle. All right, remember the legs are these guys here. These are called legs. You can label it A and you can label it B. The 90-degree angle, the little box here, what's opposite, the side that's opposite of it is called the hypotenuse. All right, this is called the hypotenuse. All right, it's the longest of the three sides. So if you look at your drawing that we did with the little squares here and the squares here, and then we made the little square here and counted all the little triangles area of each one, we found out that the square root of this was just a little bit or longer than these two. Now, understand this, we're not taking a plus b and getting the c answer. It doesn't work that way. It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then to find the c square, you would have to take the square root of it to find the length of it. And that's what we're going to do. All right, so the first question is we have a triangle here. They want to know, is this a right triangle? So we're going to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So, all right, so I'm going to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And I'm going to plug these in. Now, remember, you got to find which one is your c square. And the longest of the three is always your c square. Now, remember, this looks like a 90-degree angle. They're supposed to label it, but that's a 90-degree angle. So we're going to assume that this is C. It doesn't matter which one's A or B. We're going to pretend like this is A, this is B. All right, so I'm going to put 6 square plus 8 square equals 9 square. See, look, A is 6, B is 8, and C is 9. Remember, the C should be longer than the others. 9 is bigger than 8 or 6. All right, so you can take your calculator and say 6 times 6, that's 36. 8 times 8, that's 64. You add those up. All right, so I'm going to add these up. So that looks like 100. 9 times 9 is 81. Does a 100 equal 81? And this is a no. So this is not a right triangle. All right, because they have to equal. Remember? So these two sides equal the third side. So let's try this one. Let's try a different one. I'm going to try to do some of the odd ones. I won't do the even ones. All right, so we're going to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, if you notice how I'm doing my work, that's exactly how I want you to show your proof, show how you do it in class. It's not that difficult. You're going to use all the calc. You're just putting numbers and substituting. All right, so my a squared, first I got to find my c square. There's my right angle, so that's my c square. It doesn't matter which one's a or b. So I'm going to say a squared is 6, b is 8, and c is 10. All right, so 6 squared is 36. 8 times 8 is 64. These two give me 100. 10 times 10, that's 100. So does these two squares equal the c square? And the answer is yes. So this is a yes. It is a right triangle. All right? That's how you can prove that it is a right triangle. Even though we put that 90-degree in there, we can't prove that's according to this, it's really not a right triangle. We put that there just so we could find the 9. That's because it's the only one that looks like a 90-degree angle. So like if I go here, the closest one that looks like a 90-degree angle is that one. So I'm going to assume that's c squared. Or you could just say the biggest number is your c. So like that would be your c. That would be your c. All right, so look at 5. 5, it has 6.4, b, and 12.2. So again, we're going to do the same thing. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a squared, that's 6.4. plus 12. Oh, I forgot my square. Square, and then 12 is square, and then C is 12.2 square. All right, so you are going to have to get a calculator and use this unless you just know these on the top of your head. All right, so I'm going to take my calculator and I'm going to put 6.4 times 6.4. And I got 4096. All right, I know 12 times 12 is 144. So if I add those, that's 184.96. Now I got to take 12.2 times 12.2. And I got I got 148.84. So you can tell that these two are not, oh, that's supposed to be 84. These two are not, so this is a no. These have to be the same. All right, that's how you do it. All right, so that's how you find out if it's a right triangle. If they give you three sides and they want you to tell them, is this a right triangle? You just do a squared plus b squared plus c squared. You square the a and the b, you add them up and square the c and see if the a square and the b square, when you add them up, gives you the c square. All right, so look at 7. It says find the missing length to the nearest 10th. All right, 10th place value. Remember, that's the ones, that's the 10th right there. All right, so point something. All right, so again, we're going to use Pythagorean's theorem. A squared plus b squared is c squared. Now, if you notice, here's my 90 degree. So they're saying that this is a right triangle. So this is my C right there. I'm going to go ahead and label this as my A, and this is my B. So here we go. A square plus B square equals C square. All right, so 4 is going to be 4 square. B is going to be 8 square. And C, I don't know, so I'm going to leave it alone. It's like a variable. We don't know. 4 square is 4 times 4. That's 16. 8 square, that's 8 times 8. That's 64. And we're going to say C square. Add these up. It looks like, 80 C square. Now, we're going to take, and I don't have a calculator on me to be able to show you this, but you're going to have to get rid of the square root. And the best way to get rid of the square root, and I'm going to show it to you over here. Okay, we're going to take the 80 equals C square. All right, and the way you get rid of a square root is do the square root symbol. This is the square symbol. That's square, that's the square root. Sorry, I got them reversed. That's square, these are square roots. That's the opposite. It's like, what's the opposite of plus? Minus. What's the opposite of times? Divide. What's the opposite of square? Square root. These will cancel each other out. The square and the square root cancel each other out. So we're actually going to have the square root of 80 equals C. Now, you can put this on a calculator. You actually take your calculator, and like I said, every calculator is different. So you're more than welcome to use one in the room. But I'm going to take square root. Okay, hang on, I'm just making sure my calculator. So I'm going to type in, put the square root of 80 in there. And I get, this is what I got when I got C equals 8.94. Now remember, it wants the nearest 10th. So my answer really is C equals 8.9. All right, so that's my answer. That's how long that C is right there. It's 8.9 right here. And it is, you got to check, is this supposed to be the longest side? Is 8.9 the longest, biggest of the three numbers? Yes, it is. All right, let's try another one. Number 9. All right, so I'm going to do it again. A square plus B square equals C square. All right, so there's my right. So this is going to be my C right there. So it doesn't matter which one. I always like putting my smallest one as A and the next one's B. It doesn't matter. So 7 square plus 10 square equals C square. All right, so 49, because 7 times 7 is 49. 10 times 10 is 100. That's 149 equals C square. All right, so how do I get rid of C square? So I have 149 equals C square. I'm going to do the square root to both sides. The C's, this cancels out, so it's going to be C equals. Now I take my now don't divide that by 2. You actually need to take your calculator and put 149, the square root of 149 in there, and see what you get. In my case, I got 12.2. And so my answer would be 12.2. So this is 12.2, and it's longer than the other two. Okay. All right. Let's see what happens when we get they don't give us a side, but they give us a C. So otherwise here, see the 90 degrees, so they give us the C here. So let's see this. The rest of these are pretty easy, but let's see what happens when they give us, see how they give us through the 90 degrees, and they give us the opposite, which is the C value. We'll do a couple of these and then we'll be done. All right, so a square plus b square equals c square. All right, so this is my C. I'm going to say this is my A and this is my B. All right, so A is 3.6 square. See, A square that we said is A. Plus, I don't know, so we're going to leave it at B square. C square is 7.4 square. So I'm going to take my calculator. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't see. So I'm going to take my calculator, and I'm going to multiply 3.6 times 3.6. When I do, I get 12.96 plus b squared equals, and now I can take 7.4 times 7.4. And that is 54.76. Now, this is just like anything. We want the variable by itself. So what's being done to b squared? It's being added by 12.96. So how do I get rid of 12.96? I subtract 12.96. Notice I line up my decimals. This becomes a zero pair. So you bring down your b squared. We subtract these on a calculator. All right. And like I said, use a calculator. I mean, I wouldn't hesitate using it myself. And I'm just subtracting these two. All right. I got b squared equals 41.8. All right, now I got to find out the square root, because remember, it's still the same. See that square root there? So I got b squared equals 41.8. So I'm going to take the square root to both sides. And when I do, it's going to tell me what b is. It's going to say b equals. So I'm going to use my calculator. I'm going to take the square root of it, and I got 6.465. Now I'm supposed to round to the nearest tenths. So we're going to say b equals 6.5. All right. Now look at this. C is supposed to be my biggest. So did I go over 6.5? I mean, over 7.4? No. And I'm okay, because this is one, it's either going to be the smallest or the biggest number. But as long as it's below C, we're good, because C is the highest. All right, we're going to do one more. That's number 17. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. All right, remember c squared is the opposite of 90-degree angles. We'll make this a and this b. All right, so it's going to be 6.5 squared plus b squared equals 9.9 squared. Boy, that's a big one. All right, so 6.5, that is going to be 42.25 plus b squared. And then 9.9 times 9.9. I can't do that one in my head, sorry. Is 98.101. All right, so what's my variable? The b squared. It's being added by 42, so the opposite is subtract those. And you notice it's going to be subtract every time. So I have b squared, and I'm going to subtract those two. So I'm going to say 9801 subtract 42.25. And I got 55.76. And now I'm going to take b squared. Remember, we're going to take b squared is 55.76. And we're going to take the square root to both sides. And so this gives me b equals And so I'm going to take the square root of it. And it gives me 7.46, which if I round off, B is going to equal 7.5. And you can see 7.5 is less than 9.5 because C is minus. All right, that's how you do these. It's really quite simple. Try it out. Make sure you show your work like this. If you don't show your work, I'm not going to give you credit for it. So make sure you show your work, and then I'll see it when I get in.